morning. My name is Peter Isley, I-S-E-L-Y. I am one of the founders of Ending Clergy Abuse. That's a global organization of survivors. I'm here with our USA director and, of course, SNAP, the Survivors Network of those abused by priests. We're here today in Washington to do something that survivors have never done before, which is to endorse a nominee and candidate for the papal ambassador to the United States to the Holy See. And we'll talk a little bit about why that position is so important. In the next few weeks, President Biden's Catholicism, which is a central part of his life, which he has repeatedly said is a central part of his life. One thing that Joe Biden does every day is he has his rosary with him. Whenever he makes a decision, grasps his rosary. That rosary is very significant because it's the rosary of his son, Joe Biden. One thing that's very unique about President Biden's Catholicism is that unlike most Catholics, the majority of Catholics, he actually goes to Mass. He goes every week. He's been going every week his entire life. And his son, Beau, went every day. The abuse crisis has touched the Biden's life very directly, not just because he's a Catholic, but because him and his sons as well, attended a Norbertine prep school while sex offenders were there. There were faculty at Archmere Academy in Delaware, child molesters, the Catholic Church, and the Diocese of Wilmington knew were child sex offenders. Fortunately for the president, his faith has become, as he repeatedly says, a source of comfort. When he's in a dark hour of the night, he reaches out to his faith and to God for comfort, as he did after his tragic incidents with his family, his wife and his son who died. It's not a source of comfort for us. It's a source of darkness, struggle, trauma. So we're here today to call on the president to finally appoint someone to this important position who is going to support and advocate and aid for the human rights of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of victims of clergy sexual abuse in the United States with the Vatican. And he's going to be meeting very soon with Pope Francis. And we want him to bring us and to bring this message with him. The biggest thing he can do for us right now is to appoint who we feel is going to be a person who's going to finally advocate for us at the Vatican. And that person is Kerry from Wilmington. We'll talk a little bit later about why we've selected this person for this position, but there are two central points as to why. One, Robinson is somebody who understands the importance of survivors. She has said publicly and repeatedly that survivors have to be involved in all the planning, in all the decision making, in all the discussions around the abuse issue. So that's number one, why she's so important. But two, she's also somebody who understands why reform has to happen in the Catholic Church around financial corruption. And she has led the way with that effort over the past few years. So these issues, the intersection of abuse, as we know, and money, is the central nexus of why this issue has not been resolved and is ongoing. So we're now going to read the letter that we sent to the president concerning Robinson.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Pearson. I'm the Deputy Director of NATE's Mission. NATE's Mission is a Wisconsin-based project of ending clergy abuse. It's named after Nate Lindstrom, who tragically died by suicide in March of 2020 after suffering sexual abuse at the hands of Norbertine priests, some of whom were the same priests who've also been faculty at Archmere Academy, the school that Joe Biden and his children attended. So I'm going to read the letter that we've written to Joe Biden from survivors from Ending Clergy Abuse, NATE's Mission, and SNAP. Dear President Biden, We are writing to you on behalf of hundreds of thousands of victims of clergy sexual abuse spanning 3 generations of American children. As the first Catholic president since the emergence of the ongoing clergy abuse and cover-up crisis, your upcoming meeting with Pope Francis holds particular significance and urgency for us and our families. You have often spoken of the importance of your Catholic faith in shaping your moral foundation and commitment to public service. The rape and abuse of children and its institutional concealment constitute one of the most serious violations of human rights and religious liberty of children in the United States and around the world. Despite the prevalence of ongoing revelations of abuse and cover-up across the country, this issue has never been addressed by a U.S. President or our State Department, even though there is incontrovertible evidence of a direct link between cover-up of these crimes in the United States and Vatican law, policy, and practice. Because the U.S. government recognizes the Holy See as a sovereign state and not simply a religious entity, holding responsible parties accountable for human rights violations requires the intervention of the United States Ambassador to the Holy See. Astonishingly, to date, this has never occurred, leaving survivors without an advocate to protect their rights as Americans. This is why we are urging you to nominate Kerry Robinson as the next Vatican ambassador. Ms. Robinson is a founder of the National Catholic Leadership Roundtable and trustee of the Raskob Foundation for Catholic Activities. She is a longtime advocate for transparency, accountability, and justice in the Church's response to the clergy abuse crisis. Ms. Robinson brings an impressive set of credentials and experience for the position, but most importantly, she understands the centrality of the abuse crisis and the loss of trust in our moral and political leaders because of it. She has written, "Survivors must be a central part of all deliberations, solutions, and plans in response to the crisis. This is the exact attitude that must shape your administration's diplomatic mission in Rome." In your upcoming meeting with Pope Francis, we are asking you to bring us with you in your heart and in your words, and lay the groundwork in your meeting for a new direction between the United States and the Holy See concerning this issue. As Ms. Robinson has so forcefully articulated, this, of course, must include survivors. To that end, we are requesting a meeting between yourself and survivor leaders of clergy abuse. Additionally, we are asking you to work with Pope Francis to secure the Vatican release of all abuse-related documents and evidence to the U.S. Department of Justice and the 24 state attorneys general investigating clergy abuse and institutional concealment. Following Ms. Robinson's lead, we ask that you call on every Catholic diocese to implement full financial transparency, consisting of the release of Diocesan Finance Council meeting minutes, including financial correspondence between the Vatican and dioceses, especially in U.S. bankruptcy proceedings. Finally, as a cornerstone of their human rights mission, we ask you to urge Pope Francis to make zero tolerance a universal church law. As you are well aware, the plight of clergy abuse survivors is not far from your own family and experiences. Archmere Academy, run by the Norbertine Religious Order, is now known to have employed pedophile priests, some of whom were teachers and administrators, while your sons, Bo and Hunter, were students. Some of these priests are currently being investigated by justice officials in Wisconsin. This is undoubtedly why Bo, while Attorney General of Delaware, was one of the first public officials to champion survivors of clergy abuse. His courage was inspirational to survivors across the country, and his actions led to the passage of the Child Victims Act in Delaware and other states. Bo faced stiff opposition and criticism from Catholic officials, and yet he never compromised or qualified his commitment to justice for survivors. We are hopeful that you will bring his witness and legacy with you in your upcoming meeting with the Pope. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Tim Law, co-founder of Ending Clergy Abuse. In 1984, the first ambassador, U.S. ambassador to the Vatican was appointed by Ronald Reagan. Also in 1984, the clergy sex abuse issue became a public issue for the first time in history. Over these 37 years, that issue has become a worldwide issue. And during that time, clergy abuse files have been routed from U.S. dioceses to the Vatican embassy here in Washington, D.C., and off to Rome, to the Holy See, to be sequestered under sovereign immunity. These files are criminal files, files of U.S. citizens, our children, that have been hidden away at the Vatican. Under the nose, they have been shipped under the nose of our U.S. government and our U.S. ambassador to the Vatican. So what has been the position of the U.S. ambassador to the Vatican on this issue over the 37 years? To our knowledge, there's been no position, no statements, no action by the ambassador. In February 2019, the Pope called for an international summit on clergy abuse, and representatives of ECA, SNAP, Bishop Accountability, in fact survivors and activists from around the world convened on Rome to message to the Pope one message, and that was zero tolerance. That if a clergy person is credibly accused of sexually abusing a child or covering it up, they will be dismissed from the ministry. We met with Ambassador Callista Gingrich during that summit to get her position on this issue, get her support for us to message to the Vatican zero tolerance law. Her answer to us was she took no position. In fact, she accepted the Vatican's work on this, saying they're doing a fine job on this, and we received no support from them. So this historically has been the position of the American ambassador to the Vatican. They are a cheerleader for the Vatican and not advocates for citizens of the U.S. This has to change. So we are urging President Biden to pick an ambassador that will make this issue a priority issue, that will meet and consult with survivor activists, with us, and to work with us to get those files returned and to work for a zero tolerance policy.
I am Becky Ianni, and I'm a representative of the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests, SNAP. But more importantly, I am a survivor of clergy abuse. In June of 2016, I read a letter that the then Vice President Biden wrote to a victim of sexual assault. She had been raped and left as baggage. His compassion in the letter and his empathy brought me to tears. Later that month, I attended the White House Summit on the State of Women, where he spoke about sexual assault. He said that victims need to be believed. Victims need to not feel alone. Victims need to know it is not their fault. And he said for victims to understand this and to come forward, we need to change the culture that surrounds abuse. As I listened to Biden speak, and as I read the letter that he wrote, I thought he gets this. He understands what it takes for victims to become survivors. So today I'm here as a representative of SNAP and a clergy abuse victim to ask President Biden to nominate Kerry Robinson as the next U.S. ambassador to the Holy See. We believe she can help change the culture that Biden spoke about in his speech. She has been a strong proponent of transparency in the church. She set up standards of transparency and accountability at the parish level with great success within the church. We hope that she'll expand and apply that need for transparency to how the church handles clergy abuse. When I went to the church, I asked them how many others have been abused by my perpetrator. Were there any females? They told me they couldn't tell me that information because it was a secret. It was confidential. I needed that information to feel validated. I needed that transparency to heal. Survivors need transparency. Children need transparency to be safe. We believe that Kerry Robinson, with her proven abilities and understanding of the crisis, can help change the culture from one of secrecy to one of better transparency. By nominating Kerry to be the next U.S. ambassador to the Holy See, President Biden will demonstrate that he still has that empathy, that he still has that compassion, and that he stands with us. Thank you.